Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just jump right in. Today, we're exploring an absolutely epic, ancient story of humanity's origins. I mean, we're going way back, looking at a time long before modern civilization, a time of raw earthly survival, and honestly, the subtle, quiet creep of societal corruption. We're talking about the legacy of Prophet Sheath. He was this brilliant figure who wasn't just a prophet, but this living light of knowledge. This explainer is going to take you through some of the most fascinating firsts in human history and literally a battle between two completely different societies. Now, to really wrap our heads around this era, we kind of have to throw out what we know about humanity today. Early humans were navigating a radically different, wildly harsher earthly environment. The atmosphere, the magnetic fields, everything was just raw. And because of this, early humans were incredibly robust, like almost giant-like. What's super fascinating here is the number 70. Up in the northern part of Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, in a village actually named after Prophet Sheath, there's an ancient tomb. And this tomb measures up to 70 meters long, right? It sounds like a myth, but it perfectly illustrates these ancient accounts of early humanity's sheer physical scale before generations of earthly life gradually, changed our genetics. Section 1. The birth of Prophet Sheath, a new hope for humanity. So, set the scene. Humanity had just witnessed its very first murder, Qabil killing his brother Habil out of pure jealousy. It was just a shattering moment, the first human blood spilled by a human hand, plunging Adam and Hawa into unimaginable grief. But, in the depths of that sorrow, God provided a profound comfort. Hawa gave birth again. Now, previously, she had always given birth to twins, a boy and a girl, to populate the earth. But this time, it was totally different. It was a single child, a boy. His name was Sheath, which beautifully means gift of God or God's grant in both Hebrew and Arabic. And literally from the moment he was born, he was unique. The source notes that a special prophetic light, a nur, that had been on Hawa's forehead actually transferred to Sheath, marking him as uniquely chosen from his very first breath. And this perfectly highlights a major milestone in our history. Sheath was the very first prophet born and raised entirely on earth. Think about that for a second. Adam was created in the absolute perfection of Jannah, or paradise. But Sheath, he was a product of the earthly environment. In fact, ancient texts mention he was the first human to ever grow a beard. It was a physical symbol of this new, rugged, earthly reality. He didn't just hear about Earth's hardships, he was born right into them. Section 2. Inheriting the divine knowledge. Because Sheath wasn't just surviving out there, he was learning. Picture this. Late at night, under the stars, Adam and Sheath would sit together for hours. It was this intimate transfer of truth from one prophet's heart to another. Adam passed down his vivid memories of Jannah, the sights, the peace. But more importantly, he gave strict, urgent warnings about Satan. He taught Sheath exactly how Satan's deceptive whispers work, starting small before causing total ruin. But Sheath's knowledge wasn't just oral. 50. God bestowed upon Sheath 50 sahifas, or written scrolls. This marks the absolute first time in human history that divine knowledge and laws for a structured society were actually written down. It wasn't just about worship. It was literally the blueprint for justice, for organizing a community, and for protecting the weak. And what's really wild is that this knowledge extended deep into the physical sciences. Sheath wasn't just a spiritual guide. He was a master of worldly sciences too. He understood the hidden properties of metals, how to forge them using fire, and how to mix them. He understood the movement of the stars, mathematics, agriculture, healing, the whole shebang. His profound grasp of these sciences made him a legendary figure, not just in Islamic history, but across ancient Greek, Egyptian, and Sabian cultures. The Sabians, for instance, revered him as a great teacher and called him Satul. Section 3. The Mountain versus the Valley, a tale of two societies. So, as Sheath's knowledge grew, so did this massive geographical and spiritual divide. This is the story of two completely different trajectories for humanity. Up in the rugged mountains, you had the descendants of Habil, led by Prophet Sheath. Their life was incredibly hard. The harsh weather and physical struggle built immense discipline, though, and kept their faith incredibly strong. But down in the valley plains, you had the descendants of Qabil. Life was easy, wealth was growing, but they were entirely forgetting God. Adam had actually set a strict rule that these two societies must never mix. He absolutely knew, that the easy, spiritually hollow life of the valley would just slowly erode the faith of the mountain dwellers. But here's the thing. Satan is patient. He doesn't destroy faith overnight. Let's look at how this builds into what we could call the slow fade strategy. According to the source, Satan actually took human form, embedding himself in the valley as a blacksmith's apprentice. Step 1. He created a flute, generating this enchanting music that echoed up the mountain. It sparked innocent auditory curiosity, right? Just a sound. Step 2. When a few mountain youths snuck down just to look, they were met with visual adornment. The valley women had beautified themselves in a way that had just never been seen before. Step 3. This led to the intermingling of the youth, completely crossing the boundaries that had been set for generations. And finally, step 4. Intoxication, the introduction of fermented drinks that clouded the mind and stripped away inhibitions. It was a highly calculated, gradual moral collapse, and it all started with just a simple desire to look. While the youth were being tested below, a monumental event happened up on the mountain. Adam, the first human, passed away. The source describes how angels descended, bringing shrouds with the scent of the afterlife. Sheath stepped forward and led the first janazah, the first funeral prayer. It was here that humanity learned how to respectfully say goodbye and bury their dead, and it officially marked Sheath taking on the very heavy mantle of sole leadership over his people. Section 4. The First Armed Defense. Protecting the Faith. As generations passed, the divide between the mountain and the valley reached an absolute boiling point. The valley society hadn't just grown wealthy, they had grown arrogant and hostile. Seeing the pure, disciplined lives of the mountain dwellers was kind of like a mirror reflecting their own darkness, and they hated it. So they decided to attack the peaceful mountain dwellers using primitive weapons of stone and iron. Now, up until this exact moment in history, prophets solely used words, patience, and character to lead. But faced with total annihilation, Sheath made a defining choice. He became the very first prophet to take up the sword. He didn't do this for land. He didn't do it for power or revenge. He fought purely for defense, to protect the innocent, preserve his people's survival, and safeguard the divine trust of faith itself. And by God's permission, they successfully defended the mountain. Section 5. A lasting legacy of faith. Passing the torch. That victory ensured the survival of truth. Sheath's life wasn't just about the events that happened. It was about the enduring impact of his leadership and the passing of the torch to the future. Now, get a load of this number, 912. Sheath lived for an astounding 912 years. And that massive lifespan, he didn't build palaces for himself, he built people. He guided countless generations, watching humanity expand from a small family into a vast society. And when he finally felt his time coming to an end, he called his son Enos and passed down the 50 sacred scrolls and all that deeply guarded prophetic knowledge, making sure the light wouldn't just die with him. So what does this all mean for us today? What should we take away from this ancient epic? Well, the source distills it down into these brilliant, timeless lessons. First, small compromises lead to big falls. The mountain youth didn't lose their faith in a day, right? It started with a single peak, a single sound. The source beautifully compares this to how easily we get distracted by screens and modern temptations today. Time just slips away and our spiritual warmth slowly cools. Second, knowledge is a trust that must be shared, exactly as Sheath taught the scrolls. Third, your environment shapes your future. Adam's strict rule to separate the societies was really about protecting their spiritual environment. Fourth, forgetting is humanity's biggest weakness. We absolutely need constant reminders. Fifth, faith is the ultimate inheritance. Wealth disappears, but a heart that knows its creator, that continues to benefit you forever. And finally, being chosen, having advantages or knowledge, isn't some crown of pride. It's a heavy responsibility to serve. And this responsibility, it's part of an epic continuity. The divine light and knowledge the prophet Sheath fiercely protected didn't just sit in a museum somewhere. It was passed down this incredible prophetic chain, from Adam to Sheath to Enos to Idris to Nuh, stretching all the way through history until it eventually reached Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The core message never changed. The call to hold on to the truth, to resist the slow fade of the valley, echoed through every single generation. Which brings us to a deeply provocative thought to leave you with. Sheath dedicated 912 years of his life to making sure the truth survived to the next generation. You and I, we are part of that exact same historical chain right now. So the ultimate question is this: are you letting the chain of faith break with you? It's a really powerful thing to think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you on the next one.
সম্মানিত ভিউয়ার্সরা, আপনাদের যদি এই ভিডিওগুলো ভালো লাগে তাহলে আপনারা লাইক, ফলো, শেয়ার দিয়ে আমাদের পেজের সাথে থাকুন। দেখা হচ্ছে নেক্সট ভিডিওতে।